Welcome your hosts Caddy Frank and Erin Fitzgerald as they lead discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Good morning, everyone. We are here at Pride Festival, Minneapolis and St. Paul. Woo, woo! My name is Caddy Frank. I'm a woman in long-term recovery, and I'm here with my co-host and a marvelous guest. I can hardly wait to have Miss Molly talk about things. So we are here at Pride. We are representing Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. Thank you for being here. And who is to my right?
Oh, I'm Erin. I'm here every week, don't you know?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm so happy to be here. This is really exciting. This is like the first time that we've had potential for a live audience. Oh.
And we've got a live audience. Woo!
So fun.
Yes. And to my left, who do we have here?
Hi, everybody. My name's Molly Sinclair. I'm a woman in long-term recovery, and happy Pride.
Happy Pride is right. So we've never done a live show before, so this is like super exciting. We've got generators beside us. We've got bands preparing. We've got a live audience of people that I absolutely adore and people that I hopefully will learn to adore. Right. So, Erin.
Yeah. Before we get started,
she's got a couple of things to say here.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thanks to Twin Cities Pride for putting on this festival. We are super excited to be here. And then to thank you to our donors, the Patrick and Amy Butler Family Foundation, Otto Bremer Trust, the Sauer Family Foundation, the Hardenberg Foundation, and all of you individuals who also contribute to Minnesota Recovery Connection. We wouldn't be here without you, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Erin. Yeah. So how we start the show is, Erin, what's right with you today?
There's like 9 million things that are right with me. First of all, seeing your face this morning really, really made my day. I haven't seen your face in like 10 days. And
I know, we've been apart.
I miss you and I adore you.
I love you.
So that's the first thing. But after Pride Festival today, I'm actually going to celebrate a birthday party for a girlfriend of mine. She's a big, juicy lesbo, and I just love her to death. This is what she calls me. It's her 30th birthday party, and she's so cute, you guys. She's turning it into a funeral, so it's all black.
Oh my!
That's what I'm doing after the festival today.
Okay, so you get to like wear some really nice jazzy black clothing.
Yeah, it's totally different. It's opposite of the theme today.
Yeah, which is all color all the time,
rainbowed up.
Yeah,
and then I'll go to that funeral later.
Okay, funeral of life.
Can you imagine turning 30 again?
Oh,
was it
devastating? Was a long damn time ago.
Anyways,
that's all I got to say.
Yes. Caddy, what's right with you today?
Well, I got a good night's sleep. I was training up in St. Cloud doing a recovery coach academy where I met Molly and I met Erin back in the day. And so I got to sleep in this morning, which was fantastic. I actually woke up at 6 a.m. and going, I don't have to get up. So what's right with me today is that I had some good sleep. I got to see my favorite peoples at AM 950, and we just get to do something brand new. We get to do something live. We get to experience something. So I'm looking at Molly. Molly, what's right with you today?
I have so many things that are right with me today. As I look around, I am really pleased with how the weather is. There's blue sky, and we haven't seen that in a while. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for a supportive family. And there are so many things that I have gratitude for today. I'm grateful to be here with you beautiful people and to get to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm. Well, Molly, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you work, which kind of begins with taking the Recovery Coach Academy from Minnesota Recovery Connection, where you work, and maybe we'll start talking about your journey in recovery. What does that sound like?
That sounds good to me. So I currently work at Thrive Family Recovery Resources. We are a Minnesota recovery community organization, and we support family members of folks that are struggling with substance use disorder. we do that through we have 2 family peer recovery specialists that are available to any Minnesota resident that has a family member that's struggling that needs additional support. We offer numerous in-person meetings in the Twin Cities, or there are numerous meetings around Minnesota. There are a couple in Colorado, and I believe that we have a couple of in-person support groups in Wisconsin as well. We also have, I believe, 8 online meetings per week that happen on Zoom. So if you check out thrivefrr.org, there's a list of all of our meetings, resources, and a little bit more about the services that we offer.
Let me ask a question. Is this somewhat similar to Al-Anon and maybe Alateen, sort of some of the conversation and how it kind of revolves around the family and how things are run?
I call what we do Al-Anon adjacent.
Al-Anon adjacent. I like it.
We have a little bit different approach. We approach substance use disorder with compassion and kindness, and we believe that connection rather than detachment is a better way to support a loved one that's moving through the stages of change.
Excellent.
Okay.
I love Thrive, and I wish that there were more family recovery community organizations. It's so important that folks can, we have people call all the time, moms or wives or husbands or children calling for their loved ones. And if they can go through that like recovery with them, it's just so amazing that they can go to a place together.
And that's one of the things, as you said, Erin, we get phone calls all the time that talk about, I've got somebody right now in my life who I went out to share some time with, and they were talking about a loved one of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about Thrive, of course.
Yeah.
And then I also said, as a person who is helping a person who is looking for this, I talked about Al-Anon as well. Just because there are resources out there, and we need to let everybody know that there are all kinds of different spaces and places. So that is really amazing what Thrive has been able to do. And Pam, the executive director, actually, I get to put another notch on my whatever belt. She took my class too back in the day. So it's really fun for me to be able to see all the advancements in the recovery community because of people that want to help the recovery community. I'm just lucky enough to be a facilitator that gets to help kind of spread the idea of peer recovery services. And then what is our recovery community? So you're here, Molly, at the table because part of you represents what Pride is about. So why don't you tell us either both kind of combo platter of your journey in recovery and maybe your experiences in the LGBTQIA plus community.
Sure. Well, I am happily married to my wife, Ann. We have been married since June 11th, 2011. I feel pretty proud that I remembered that.
Sometimes it's the dates.
Yeah. Let's see, my recovery journey started in 2014 when I realized that I really needed help to stop drinking. I was not succeeding doing it on my own. And so I went to my wife and I said, Ann, I need help and I think I need to go somewhere. I went to an IOP
What's an IOP?
Intensive outpatient program in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I'm from originally. I sort of skipped over that part. I'm born and raised in Nashville, had a pretty typical upbringing, except for the fact that both of my parents were in recovery as I was growing up. My dad ran a large alcohol and drug treatment center in Nashville, Tennessee, and so recovery was something that I was around a lot. And I was familiar, especially with 12-step traditions, 12-step fellowships. And so that was what I knew about recovery. I knew about AA and Al-Anon.
Right.
That was about, I thought that I needed to go to treatment and go to a meeting.
That sounds pretty.
I would be fixed.
Yeah, that's about what most people know about
Pretty
recovery.
typical.
Yeah.
Pretty typical. Yeah. And then,
so fast forward to 2014, I recognized that I wanted to make a change and I needed help with that. And so I was sober for about a year, and then I had a return to use, and that lasted approximately 3 years, and I went back to treatment, inpatient treatment in 2017. I started attending a 12-step fellowship group, and that has been a big part of my journey, and is certainly one of the recovery pathways that has been helpful for me in my journey. My total abstinence date is December 30th of 2022. So I struggled from 2017 to 2022 to maintain continuous sobriety, which was my goal. And I recognize that abstinence is not necessarily everybody's goal, or at the end of everyone's pathway. So
It's a journey, isn't it?
sure is.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like you were working at it and working at it and working at it. And I think that's what we always recognize when we're in the recovery community, that it takes a while to figure out what's going to work for us, and maybe a couple of re-examinations of what could be out there. And then we come into potentially thinking about recovery. So thank you for talking about that window. That's really important.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
After you had that first year of recovery and then you had a reuse, was there something that had triggered that?
There was not, but leading up to so in 2012, my wife got pregnant for the first time, and ultimately we lost that pregnancy after 20 weeks. And I think that my drinking really accelerated after that. And so by 2014, I was really ready to make a change. So
Wow.
that I think, really set things in motion.
And besides becoming a peer recovery specialist, what has happened since 2022 when things have become more solid for you? What changed?
So I've realized that I need more than one tool in my toolbox, so to speak. And so I've leaned in heavily to my 12-step fellowship. I have a couple of service commitments, and I try to be of service when I can. And so sort of shifting my mindset to what do I want to, how can I be helpful, has been a big help, has been a big factor in my recovery journey, and getting some recovery time under my belt. So
Nice. Where did the self-identification of being part of the LGBTQ community, where did that come in? And did that have any contribution when you maybe had that sort of awareness or awakening, and your substance use? Because what we've talked about when we've talked to particularly Pride, that when someone comes out, the safe place to go to is a bar, because that's where a lot of folks are. And so I don't know what your journey is, but there's also that part that you had to sort of come to terms with. What did that look like?
So I came out in college, so somewhere around 2002 probably.
And that was in Tennessee?
And that was in Tennessee. I went to a small liberal arts college that was, relatively conservative, because it was in rural Tennessee. So
hence Tennessee, rural.
And I was greeted with, when I first came out, my roommate told me that she loved the sinner but hated the sin, which, made me feel really warm and fuzzy about having had told her that. It wasn't a safe landing space. And so I dealt with a lot of self-hatred and self-loathing growing up, mainly because I just didn't feel like I fit in. Mm-hmm. I just had this sense that I wasn't quite I didn't fit into what I was supposed to look like, that I was worried that I wasn't going to have a family, which is something I really wanted, because there weren't a lot of examples of families that look like mine do. My wife and I have 2 beautiful children, and we live in St. Small, so
St. Paul.
St. Paul. But in terms of the the bar scene, that was a part of my early journey. And, frankly, I don't know how much that has to do with my struggles, because when I really started to struggle, I was not going out to bars.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't drink the way that I wanted to drink around other people.
Sure.
Oh.
And so my ability to connect with other people was severely diminished in my active use.
Wow.
So, hanging out at bars was a part of my early, that was a big part of my 20s. Um, and I think I was able to drink the way I wanted to for a while
Mm-hmm.
until I wasn't.
Until you learned. I can
Until
relate.
you weren't, yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. What brought you to Minnesota?
So my wife currently works for an organization called Impact,
Mm-hmm.
and she went to graduate school in Nashville, which is where we met, and was offered a job straight out of grad school to work for Impact for she's their chief learning officer. And so we moved here when she got that job. And I was a paralegal for 15 years in Nashville. And when we moved here, I stayed home with our kids for 2 years,
Nice.
which was a really rewarding and difficult time.
Sure. That's
You know what's interesting with your wife working for Impact,
Mhm.
and that is part of the AmeriCorps programs, and that's Recovery Corps, which is what Minnesota Recovery Connection actually birthed
Mhm.
back in the day. So I didn't realize that your wife worked for Impact, and it's like
She does.
another connection that we
Yeah.
all have.
I love making connections.
Yes.
My wife and I talk about that all the time, about how we love connecting people. I mean, I think we're responsible for 2 or 3 marriages. We've introduced people that have later gotten married. So it both gives us a lot of energy to connect people together. So
I love-
Wow. So cool. What other questions do you have, Miss Erin? Thoughts?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, like a million of them. I don't know where to begin, but
So your recovery journey started when you were in Tennessee. You moved to Minnesota. What has your community in the LGBTQ and finding recovery? Have you specifically gone to meetings where it is the gay community, or have you done anything? I'm trying to wrap a little bit of recovery and pride together.
I
And
appreciate that.
yeah, so because we are here at Pride Festival, so
I am proud.
how does that all work together? Because that's where I was saying when I was talking to Andy, who runs the Pride Festival, he was saying that's where our conversation came around, and that a lot of the individuals that were struggling with their substance use started in the bars, and then they have to like move out and find new community. What does that new community look like so that recovery can be sustained? Particularly if we have to look at the LGBTQ community.
I have to be honest. I don't go to a lot of LGBTQIA specific meetings. I know that they exist, and I've been to 1 or 2, I believe. But I have felt welcome where at the meetings that I've gone to, and so that's. I certainly connect with the idea that I needed to find people outside of bars.
Yes, for sure.
And I needed to be able to develop meaningful relationships with people, regardless of what community they're in.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, supportive allies that you've already found, and so you don't feel the need to necessarily branch out specifically to the LGBT community for your recovery.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm glad that you found that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we find, and that is when we begin to grow our community, like you said, you have folks that you know from all different spaces and places. It doesn't have to fit a certain model, and I think that's what's really important when we talk about recovery.
Mhm.
Sometimes we get a little bit more streamlined, and you mentioned that you were part of the AA community because your parents were in recovery and they used that model. What we have to remember is that there's many different ways that people recover, or in recovery. Either way, doesn't work. It's all this. No, it's not all the same. Shut up. Okay, a furry just walked by.
I was just gonna say, can we just mention that we're like right on the outside of the festival, and so we're getting to see tons of people coming in and wearing gorgeous outfits and showing their pride, and it's just really lovely.
I know, it's just amazing. And we've got dogs that are
Yes,
wearing
rainbows.
rainbows. We've got dogs that are wearing tutus. We've got humans that are wearing beautiful colored t-shirts and earrings and backpacks.
You all have fully activated my attention deficit disorder. I was temporarily really focused in on what we were doing now.
I apologize, I'm
and
not.
It's all over now, folks.
Well, you know what? And that's what the fun thing about doing something like this, which we've never done before. Let's all just be very aware. We've got people walking by kind of going, what are they doing in there? What's this about? Who are they talking about? Well, we're talking about pride, but we're also talking about recovery.
Mhm.
And when we do recovery, we do it in a lot of different spaces and places. I was just up in St. Cloud training a class, and that is a smaller community. It's a big-ish city. But when I talked about going to the Pride Festival, people kind of turned their heads like puppies in windows, like, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You know what? Recovery is everywhere, and we need to gather all of our communities. We need to gather all the people that might be struggling, and we know the all communities need people. Like you were saying, you don't necessarily identify with one or the other. We can identify with so many groups in recovery and have really, really amazing conversations. And that's what I got up in St. Cloud too. Had some people kind of scratching their heads on kind of some of the stuff that we're talking about, and how do we help people through peer-to-peer services. And they're like, but isn't that just like a sponsor? I'm like, not really, but kind of. Isn't that like a counselor? Kind of, but not really. It's this squishy space in the middle. So that's why we do things like this, and we have new conversations. We need to bring everybody into the conversation. So, what more do you have to add about your story?
You know, one other big part of my recovery journey that started, I think, 2 summers ago was I started playing sober softball, which is
Just going to ask you about
a
this.
whole nother dimension of my recovery, because there are teams that represent recovery community organizations. There are teams that represent 12-step fellowships, that represent healthcare
Mm-hmm. Organizations.
There, it's a huge league, and I will put a plug in for I think it's the St. Paul Recovery Community Softball. But that's been another really big part of my recovery journey, has been really connecting with that community, because being active. Sports were a big part of my growing up.
Right.
I played 3 sports in high school. I played college softball, which is one of the gayest things about me.
I love it.
In addition to my wife.
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah. So being active and playing sports was a big part of growing up. And so being able to exercise that part of my life, literally, in a recovery community, has been really great.
Yeah.
So
Super amazing. Yeah. And, we sometimes think when we're in recovery, we think about going to meetings or doing treatment or doing this and doing that. And we have to remember there's all these other spaces that we get to hold for recovery communities, as well as all communities. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because it's just super important.
Yeah. What kind of things bring you joy or used to bring you joy? I wanted to make sure that you are playing softball again, because you had mentioned that you used to in college.
yeah.
I love sober softball leagues.
So one of the things is that you have 2 children,
Yep.
and they are part of your recovery community as well, because you are raising them as a woman who struggled with substance use, and you've been in recovery for that whole time. What kind of messages, and when do they go to these events with you? Do they see all of these different people and all these different folks around?
I frankly keep my meeting life sort of separate. So my kids actually don't know a lot of people in the recovery community, but I have been really upfront about my journey, and my wife and I have both talked with our kids about what it means that I go to a meeting on Wednesday nights.
Nice.
And the fact that some people can drink alcohol and it's fine, and what happens when I drink alcohol is that I want more and more and more, and so my brain is different than other people's brains, and it's not good for me to drink alcohol. So that's how we've explained it to our kids.
I think that's important because we need to have conversations with little people and help them kind of walk along on the journey of recovery. Erin,
What?
so
Oh, sorry.
what? I like
was
that.
looking over here.
Squirrel, little squirrel going on. We got. I mean, again, here we are. Pride is beginning to pick up. It's 10:35. More people are walking into the park. Many people on this table have a little ADHD, a little attention deficit, and we are like looking all around.
Here we are.
And so, Erin, I want to kind of dial in a little bit on when we have children that are part of our recovery. What does that look like? Because you're a mom, you have a little person, you've talked about him. What does that look like with him? And I know one of the specific things that you talked about was when you found out that you were pregnant, it was your catalyst.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because it's funny because some people tell me, or like, I didn't have a choice at that point, but I did. I had still had a choice. I could have kept on drinking, or I could have taken other options with my child. But I was going to say, when it comes to children and recovery, sometimes that can actually be like a barrier, right? They're not always welcome at all the meetings, and I can't bring them with me to all the things. And that's why I think that understanding all of the different pathways to recovery is important, because now I can take my kid with me and we can go to the beach, and that's going to be part of my recovery because I love the sun and the water, right? And so there's all sorts of different can be all sorts of different obstacles and barriers when you have little ones.
Yeah.
And I happen to be a single mama, and so it makes it a little more
Limited.
limited.
Yeah.
I should mention that I have a lot of gratitude for my ability to do the things I need to do for me. And my wife, Ann, gives me that space by, taking care of our kids when I need to go to a meeting or when I need to be of service. She's always there. And so my recovery is in large part, has been dependent on her support. So,
Her commitment to your recovery.
yeah,
Which is
Really
a
great.
commitment
it's
to
a
your
family
relationship.
effort.
Yeah. It's a commitment to your relationship. It's a commitment to your recovery, your children, all those different factors. And, this is a great time to plug the Walk for Recovery, too, because it is a family friendly event, September 21st from 10 until 3 at the state capitol. And, another thing that we do is we welcome all organizations there from all walks of life. So we'll have everybody available there. We'll have pets. We will have a bouncy house area for children. We'll have food trucks. We'll have a lot of different things that represent the recovery community and the community at large. There are some organizations there that have nothing to do with recovery, but they respect people that are in recovery. One of them will be the Department of Corrections, which is one of the strong places where we need to represent people, because a lot of people get into trouble because of their substance use disorder, and they land in those communities, what we call, versus calling it jail or incarceration. It's a community, and we try to help people along the way. So, the Walk for Recovery is something that I open up to everybody who is part of this community here that are struggling with recovery, or maybe to your point of your organization, Thrive, maybe have a family member that's struggling. It's a place where you can get resources. And I know Thrive's going to be there, right?
We will be there.
Awesome.
Correct. We will have a tent.
Have you
A
brought
10
your children there before?
I sure will this year.
Okay, excellent. That's what I
By
like to hear.
suggestion. Hey, there's a lot of things that you and your wife can do while you sit at the table of Thrive, and then somebody else can take over for you, and you get to go out and walk around.
Great. I can't wait. I've already signed up, I think.
Have you been to the walk before?
I went to the walk last year.
Okay.
Yep, so 1 year.
All right.
What was your experience at the walk last year?
I didn't actually do. I went to the festival, or I didn't do the walk, but I walked around the grounds.
The grounds, yeah.
And there were just a lot of resources and a lot of organizations that I didn't realize existed.
So many recovery
Yeah.
resources, like over 100, I think.
Yeah, well, we've got 100, and then you think about what's going on here at Pride. They have resources all from the recovery community, all communities, and that are all represented. I mean, next to our booth we're next to Target, by the way, at Pride. If you want to come down to the Pride Festival, I'm just going to say we're next to Target. We
Very
kind of
easy to
pissed them
find.
off this morning, but that's okay. We made good with them. They hopefully they still love us. But all organizations are here. I mean, AM 950. How long has AM 950 been projecting? I don't know. What are we doing here? How many years have we been doing this? Broadcasting. At least 12 years. Wow. That's super amazing because we get the voice, this progressive voice from AM 950 talking about all different kinds of subjects, all different kinds of peoples. So, it's just really a great thing to think about. Recovery is everywhere, and there are so many people in the shadows that are struggling with their use and their substance use. So, Erin, what do you got?
What do I have? I keep getting distracted. I am like Molly over here. I've got ADHD like nobody's business, and there's too many colors going into my peripheral vision.
So we're
Barely
struggling.
looking
We're
at you.
struggling, folks. Hey, remember, first live show. So if you're listening to this online, just love us because we are here. Never done this before. I think we're on show 15 or 16. So it is what it is. Molly, what would you like to add?
I would like to add that my recovery journey also took a little bit of a pivot
Yeah, please pivot.
when I started orienting my life towards wellness as opposed to
Oh.
relief.
Yes.
And when that shift happened, I feel like things sort of opened up for me. It meant that my recovery could be about more than just not drinking.
Thank you for saying that. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier when I asked if there was something that had changed between like the 2014 and 2022, if there's something that had shifted and it was adding more. It was your well-being, not just the removal of the substance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And recovery, I think, is about addition as opposed to subtraction because
Yes.
I certainly needed something to do with
Yes.
my hands, with my time, with my emotions.
Yes, it's all of the things. It's
Well,
all
and,
all
and
the time.
yeah, and wellness is really part of the journey in recovery. I know myself, I stepped away from the traditional 12-step program because it didn't fit me anymore because I evolved. I made some changes in my life. I found new interests. Like I didn't do any sports. I'm not a sports gal, but I picked up all kinds of artsy fartsy stuff because that's what I like to do. I wallpapered my hallway through wallpaper books during the COVID years, but that was my recovery. I didn't have any
She
musical.
didn't just wallpaper her wall, you guys. There's like 900 pieces of wallpaper on the wall.
And these are the journeys that we take. We need to do things that fill our soul, that do things for us.
Yeah.
So, being at an event like this, also doing sports, doing meetings, finding new communities,
Mhm.
that is what it's about. And then supporting the people that struggle, like Thrive does. I mean, again, I go back to the recent conversation I had with a family about their young person who's struggling. And I just, as Erin said, we need more of them. And so if you're anybody who's out there in our listening audience, either present or in the greater, I hope, United States listening to us, if you know that families are struggling, reach out to communities because there are community organizations out there. There are meetings out there.
No, when somebody comes to Thrive, Molly, if it's say my child is struggling and I want resources, I can go to you directly. And does my child have to participate as well, or can I just get services?
No, in fact, we do have one meeting where both the person that is struggling and their loved one can attend, but most of our services are pretty much just
For the
focused
loved.
just for the loved one.
Beautiful.
What's that process look like? You begin a conversation with someone, and where do we go from there? What does that look like when you get that first call?
Well, I actually don't know because I haven't fielded those calls yet.
Okay.
Oh,
But I'm hopeful that I will soon. But I think that the first thing that we tell anyone is, I'm so sorry that you're struggling.
mhm.
So we meet people with compassion and we meet them where they're at. And we don't tell anybody what to do or that
Right.
their loved one needs treatment or doesn't need treatment. We walk alongside the person and ask, how can we be helpful?
Right. And I think that's one of the things that I think all peer recovery specialists and organizations that do peer to peer services, it's like, What do you need right now? What will help you? What is it that's going on? And it's that non-judgment, like you said, not going to tell you what to do. It's offering that support to meet people in the moment, because sometimes those moments are just so fueled with like, I can't stand this person, but I love this person. And this person is hurting themselves, and they're hurting me as well. That's what I learned from this conversation I had. And so it's very confusing for people when they have a loved one that is struggling. And I know my personal story, I hurt a lot of people, but they still love me, but they were just confused on what to do.
Yeah, help me help you. So, what kind of things do you? What would you tell me if I came in and I said my daughter is struggling and I need resources for you?
Well, I think that we would emphasize, how can you maintain a connection and with your loved one.
So, don't back away from them. Stay connected with
Yes,
them. Okay,
yes.
that's
Yeah.
the first thing.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important part, because it was back in the day, it was like, stand back, don't talk to them, push them off to the side. They've got to figure it out
Don't
themselves.
enable them.
Don't enable them. And
Detach with love.
Oh,
yeah, ugh, what a mess. Detach. Why would you detach from your child? Why would you detach from your loved one?
And that's the vast majority of people that come to thrive are parents,
Right.
kids that struggle, and there's a different type of connect. And I mean, it same goes for a spouse too, but there's a different connection with your child when you're being told, detach with love. How do you do that when you've
I'm sorry, that's so distracting for
Yes,
me right
we
now.
have we have a
We have a
lovely
furry.
individual.
Fox.
We have a furry
It's a
named Jess,
Fox.
Jessie,
Jace.
Jace, and okay, would love to
Hi,
have my
Jace.
team that can read.
Fabulous.
So we have a furry in front of us, and they're just listening to our show. So continue on, Molly, and then see if we can dial back in, because that's really distractingly beautiful.
I love it.
I
It's a big
completely lost my train of thoughts.
That's okay. So
What
when
does a
you're
fox
talking
say?
about meeting people and having conversations, and we don't push them away. We don't make people feel as though their loved one has a problem per se. There's stuff going on. How do we engage them actually as a family in recovery? Potentially, I'm not exactly sure, but I'd imagine those are sort of the methods that are used.
Yeah, and our approach is based in a curriculum called Invitation to Change, which is based on an intervention called CRAFT, which is community reinforcement and family training, and then acceptance and commitment therapy, and then there's also some motivational interviewing. So it's all evidence-based approaches, and the first thing that I think the very first chapter is behaviors make sense. So understanding that your loved one is not using substances to make you mad or because they don't love you. It's doing something for them.
It's a symptom of something, or it's
Right.
their medicine at the time.
Yeah, it's doing something for them. And so when you recognize that behaviors make sense and you're not taking it personally, that's a big step in being able to love your person where they're at.
Yeah, I've said before, and I've been saying more and more to people, this group of individuals I talk to. I said, if a young person or a mature person, if we say just stop using your chemical, you're asking to take away somebody's best darn tootin' friend.
It was my solution for the
Yes.
longest time. And
Yeah.
so you take away my solution, and what am I left with?
Yeah, I'm gonna push back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a lot of things that are gonna probably be disruptive to relationships, and then we're gonna go out even harder and faster to try to find that. If you say don't do it, what do? You run towards it.
Yeah, of course. Especially if you don't do this, then I'm going to leave you. Well, then have them leave.
Yeah, leave me. I don't care.
Go ahead. I've got my friend here, and it's not going anywhere. So
Right. It's totally available to me too, particularly if we talk about alcohol. I mean, alcohol. Ironically, we have a Leinenkugel bus a truck right across from us. So, it just seems fitting. That's where Minnesota Recovery Connections first booth was when we were right next to the beer garden. I'm like,
Right.
hey, great placement.
yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, giving families the information is so beneficial. I know my family struggled to support me, and I've got lots of family who has struggled throughout the years, and because people haven't known what to do or how to do, and have maybe exited or just changed how they interacted with that person, we've we've lost people because we didn't know how to deal with them. So I just Thrive is just always on the tip of my tongue when people are asking about their loved ones. Just love what you do.
And I'm going to dial this into the LGBTQ community too, because one of the things we know is that when somebody is struggling with their own identity
Hmm.
and they get pushed out from a family for that reason, then maybe they pick up a substance because they're trying to cope with what that's going on. Then they pick up a substance and they're struggling. We kind of got a
Where do
double
I go?
whammy.
Yeah, that's it. Intersections, right?
Right, right.
That we talk about intersectionality, and that's a big one, right? I'm in recovery, or I have substance use disorder, and I'm a part of this community. Yeah.
Geeks, what do I do? What do I
Yeah.
do?
I think I heard a statistic that women who identify with the LGBTQIA plus community are 7 times more likely to have a substance use disorder than heterosexual women.
Absolutely, that makes sense to me. Just knowing some of the people that I've known in my life, I can see that would be an accurate statement.
And then I think if we take the next step within the LGBTQIA plus community, if we're talking about those who might be transgender or have identities that just don't fit even some of the molds that some folks might understand, lesbian or gay, or a man is gay and a woman is gay, then you add in that other intersection of who they are, then they are super on the outside because people just still don't understand that. And so we know that that's a lot of the homeless population is individuals that are struggling with that identity issue. That's where chemical dependency comes in. And that's actually where a lot of suicide comes in too, because they just are not, they don't fit anywhere.
And that was a big part of it took me a long time to love myself.
Mhm.
When I loved myself, I wanted to take care of myself. And so, I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. And so that sense of identity, like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who my people were. I didn't know, I didn't feel lovable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And so until I felt lovable, my sense of, things got better.
I can just relate so much. It's like if we can just love people who are not loving themselves, just love them hard enough to make them see that they are worth being loved and they can care about themselves. We can care about ourselves. And we just give ourselves a little bit of love ourselves and put away a little bit of the substance at a time or all of it. I don't care. But it just starts with showing people compassion.
Yeah, not
It
judgment.
does. It all starts with compassion.
Yep.
And that's, I think, when I've done I've done some work around what my values are, and I think that's a helpful exercise for anyone to do. I would suggest anybody to sit down and look up a list of values and just see what you identify with. Because when I realized that compassion and generosity and humor were some of my some of my core values, it just helps. It helps me.
I love that. I have when I'm thinking about my values, and I'm just gonna, this is totally a little bit off topic, but my values were the same when I was like younger, before I had a substance use disorder, during my substance use disorder, and now after. But that's not what people saw.
Right.
And so they saw me turn into a morally corrupt person, but really I was the same, right? I like that. Thank you.
And you had this chemical come in that changes it. It helps us cope, but then it sort of makes what we value and who we are, like you said, look like
Look
we're
different.
bad.
Mhm.
And we're not. We're struggling with something. We're feeling incomplete. So we're finding a substance that sort of says, we still love you over
Mhm.
here in a bottle or in a joint or in a something,
Mhm.
because that's a safe space. But then all of the stigma that's around overusing a substance or using a substance that's illegal or doing some activities that are illegal, then everybody judges the activity but forgets to see the person who is actually the one who's just trying to survive, and the only mechanism they know how is this thing because it gives you relief.
Mhm.
And that is it's crazy for a normie, and some people I know are normies in the audience, and there are conversations with people like, I don't know, does your wife struggle with substance use disorder?
No.
No. So she's probably had to have a learning curve on how your whole world has evolved and revolved around substances, hence family recovery, because people have to understand that you can't just stop because stopping, again, takes away your friend. And if that friend has always been there, we don't want to lose them. But we can do it through harm reduction, like Erin trains. And you just had a training class the other day. So how did that go for you?
It was a good class. I mean, it was just a 1 day training, and I had one ally in the room, and it was really nice. I like to share specific parts of stories to allies, specific parts of my story to allies, because there's sometimes that feeling of not fitting in or feeling lost that people really can't relate to, and I want you to feel so badly how lost I was and what it felt like when I had the first person really in my substance use disorder really say, no, I care about you and I want you to be actually better. What can I do for you? Not do this.
Right. And just to give a definition of allies, an ally is somebody who is in our family net, who is taking care of us, or our friends or our partners. And they are not somebody who struggles with substance use disorder, but they know what it kind of looks like. They've felt it alongside someone, and they're able to say, I still love you.
Yeah.
Because of, instead of around the chemical and the disease of addiction, because addiction is something that we just have to recognize is something that just doesn't go away. It is a constant lifelong battle. And actually, let me rephrase that. It's not a battle. It's something that I have to constantly be aware of. And I know that in my recovery, I had to say this to the class that I just taught. When I think about my journey and I think about what's important to me, and that is number one in my world is recovery, even above some of the people that I love or loved in the past. Because if I don't have my recovery, I don't got stuff. Bad word. And so if I don't care about my recovery, which is myself, the first and foremost, it doesn't work for me. And then what happens is that I can get some of that, in the words of AA, stinking thinking.
Yeah. We don't like any of that.
So we are coming towards the end and we don't know what to do. We would like to find out what the time call is because we are curious. We have 5 minutes and 31 seconds. Okay, now we know what we're up against. So that's super helpful.
Well, then we can just talk about whatever the heck we do want to talk about then for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah. So what are you going to do with the rest of your day, Molly?
My family and I are going to Savannah Portage State Park this afternoon, where the report from the website is that it's very buggy. So I'm really looking forward to inhaling mosquitoes. Yeah, well, yeah, DEET.
Lather on the DEET or something, or wear the long sleeve clothing.
So we're camping, and then I turn 41 on Monday.
Happy birthday!
Ooh, happy birthday!
I'll
almost.
be celebrating with some friends, but having a summer birthday is hard because people are always out of town. So I always feel under-celebrated.
Well, I used to always make everybody party around my birthday. Even in my recovery, I would have gatherings, and it is hard. Mine sort of butts up against Memorial Weekend, and I'm like, oh, Nito, everybody's out of town. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Erin, what are you going to do for the rest of the day?
I'm going to be here all day.
Are you?
Yeah, and then I'm going to go to that birthday party afterwards. Can I tell you something really cool that happened to me?
Super,
Okay,
yes.
so this is totally off subject again. Do you remember, Caddy? There was a gentleman who was unhoused that lived near my home that I had been connected with like last summer, fall, for many months.
Vaguely, yeah.
Just a gentleman in the area, and we every week we would meet and just have conversations, and sometimes I would bring him things that he needed, and then he disappeared, and I was really sad about it because we had been trying to get him into some services, and the other day my little fella and I were coming home from soccer game, and wouldn't you know it, I saw him and I swung into the parking lot where he was sitting, and he jumped up and he was so excited to see me too. He went back to the place where we used to meet. That was the first day. So he was in a safe space for a while, but they weren't giving him what he needed. This is a person who wants to practice harm reduction with his alcohol.
Okay.
And they said that they were going to get him housing. And it had been 2 months since anybody had ever come back and given him more information to touch base about it. And so he just said, this isn't going to work for me. I need to know that somebody is doing something and caring for me. he went back to this place and waited outside to see if he could find me. And sure enough, I found him, and I was so grateful. So now he's going to get services, but looking for what he needs
Wow,
in his
that's
recovery. Because
amazing.
he doesn't want to quit drinking,
That
You know,
is,
I didn't want to quit drinking either.
Yeah.
I wanted my problems to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
now there's the nut of all of this, and that's where we talk about trauma and we talk about, but what an amazing story. This man went to the place where he knew he could maybe run into the human that could help him.
Yeah.
Aaron, my heart is just aflutter.
Yeah, that was
That
really,
is
really
so
nice.
beautiful. Wow. So we're down to our last couple of minutes. Molly, any closing words that you'd like to share with where we're at Pride Festival or about yourself?
I'm just grateful to be here. I hope that people come down to Pride and celebrate. Happy Pride, everybody.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed our conversation, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Delightful to have you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah,
and
it's-
sharing about Thrive.
Yeah. And we just know that there's a lot of services out there. So let's see, what's Caddy going to do for the rest of the day? Caddy's been out of town most of the week. So Caddy's going to probably walk a wee bit around the fairgrounds. Wow, fairgrounds.
No,
seriously.
it's too early for that.
It's too early for that. Around the Pride Festival, and then maybe go home and crash for a little bit and come back to the festival and be part of our Minnesota Recovery Connection booth that we have here. So please, if anybody is interested in stopping at Minnesota Recovery Connection, we are number 743, I think, over by Target.
273.
Okay, over by Target, just by Target. Just know we're by Target, right next to them.
And stop by AM 950. They've got shows going on all day too.
Yeah, and they got swag.
Yes,
If you're
good
on
swag.
if you're on a camera, you can see we've got these marvelous scarves. They got bags, they got stuff. Yeah, and I'm going to come back and I'll be here tomorrow representing MRC and be so grateful. One of the things that we are always looking for is people who want to recognize the recovery community and donate to our website, which is minnesotarecoveryconnection.org. You can
No,
hit
it's not.
No, it's not. What is it then?
It's minnesotarecovery.org.
minnesotarecovery.org. What did I say? I said minnesotarecovery.org. minnesotarecovery.org. See, I don't even know where I work some days, folks. So please feel free to support us in any way. We are always available for people that have insurance, that don't have insurance. We love monthly donors, annual donors, and whatever. Volunteers we're always looking for. We want to engage and foster good health for people. I really am glad Molly was here because she offered something new and exciting for our conversation. And thank you very much, everybody. Welcome to Pride. Woohoo!